It is time for episode 76 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. Unfortunately, we have to pull the curtain down on the 2021-22 season for your Chicago Bulls. But like our guy Chuck Swirsky, our glass, Stacy, is always full, right? I mean, there are a lot of good things that were accomplished this year, and I think when people look back at it with some perspective and see the roster that was put together by AK and Mark Eversley and the potential for what they can add this summer, the future is bright for the Bulls.
Bulls Nation, think about where we were 2 years ago.
Right.
3 years ago, 4 years ago. Weren't even sniffing the playoffs. We're in the playoffs, 6th seed. Could have been better. Injuries wouldn't have hampered. I thought the injury to Caruso in Milwaukee really, really hurt this team. Really put us in a tough situation. Had he not got hurt, I think, the record would have been better. I mean, you lose him twice in a year. That's tough. That's tough. And then he gets hurt in a playoff game. But the future is bright here. And I've said this a lot, Mark. There's levels to this. There's levels. You gotta build to get to where you want to go. And they're putting this stuff together. You got to give AK and Mark and trust in the process. I think they've done good in the year and a half they've been here. Here we are, a playoff team in their second year. So right. They're putting the right pieces in place. And trust me, every game they watch this year, every time they've been on the road, and they've been on the road most all season long. One or the other or both have been on the road. So they've been evaluating, they're watching, they're doing their due diligence, trying to find out what this team needs to get to that next level. And I think it's obvious you need a three-point shooter somewhere. You need a big that can actually post up and give you some rim protection as well. And those are it's a lot easier said than done. It's hard to find all those things. Where are you going to find a Kyle Korver type of guy walking around that's affordable? Right. You know what I'm saying? Where are you going to find a Rudy Gobert, who can rim protect and do some of the things that you need done back there? And because salary caps that's in place. You got to pay Zach. So there's a lot of things that are going to make it a little bit difficult, but they'll find a way to get it done. I'd
like to get that Mark Williams kid from Duke, the kid who can block shots and run the floor. I think he'd be a really good compliment to Vooch. The problem is he kind of moved up with his showing in the tournament. Originally, they were talking about him in the 20s. Now they're saying he's in the lottery. The Bulls have the 18th pick in the draft. Maybe they can move up a couple spots and snap that.
Well, and you got to remember, too, the draft is really kind of weird sometimes. Yeah. You get guys who are supposed to be lottery picks slip all the way to the end of the first round. It's been happening for the last 10, 12 years. Io, who's supposed to be a first-round pick, slips all the way to, in the 30s. And I think he showed that he wasn't a second-round pick this year. He was a legit first-round pick. Probably be second-team all-rookie. So I'm trusting that they're going to find a good player at 18 because someone's going to slip. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen where one team puts it out on another team on a kid that, he's not as strong as we thought, or he's, whatever. Some bad information is going to happen that's going to really force a kid to slip. And that's why I think you're going to end up getting someone good at 18. And then if you get a player, and I think for the Bulls' defense, they need a guy that can play right away. Sure. They need a rookie that can come in and play and contribute in whatever direction they need, whether it be rim protection, three-point shooting. They need that player at 18 to be able to come in and play. They're not going to have the luxury to sit and develop for 3 or 4 years. They need to be able to come in and contribute right away at whatever specialty that it is. If it's the Williams kid who's a shot blocker or a rebounder, can score back to the basket, he's going to be asked to come in and play right away. If it's a shooter, he's going to be asked to come in and knock down shots.
Mm-hmm. And Patrick Williams, I think, showed late in the season. He had that 30-plus point game at Minnesota in the regular season finale, 2 20-plus point games to close out the playoff series against Milwaukee. I think he even said that he kind of found himself. He found some confidence that he realizes he can score at this level. He can be more of a dynamic player than what he had showed to this point. I think this is going to be an important summer for him to continue to work on his game, and he can come into training camp next year, and he can really be an important piece of this whole puzzle.
He should be a main piece. I'm going to be honest with you. He should be the third option next year and working his way up to even being a higher role as his career goes along. This kid, and I always say this on the air, he is a Ferrari. Okay, he doesn't know how to drive it. He's a kid that doesn't know how to drive the Ferrari. Right. Okay, and his dad gave it to him for his 16th birthday. Well, his dad was Billy Donovan. Okay, and he just gave him the car. But now Billy Donovan, as his dad, has to show him how to drive it. Yeah. Okay, you know what I mean? Yeah. You have to pull these things out of Patrick because Patrick is a passive guy by nature. He's a good kid. He's a great teammate. He defers to the older guys like a younger player should do. But when you have the talent that he has, I think the coaches have to see it. They have to say, wait a minute, okay, this kid is super talented, ultra talented. We got to find ways to get him more opportunities. And I think after that Minnesota game, you should have been, if you're Billy Donovan and the coaching staff, you should have been excited because it's like, oh, wait a minute. This is a guy who wasn't passive since he's been very passive and he's come back. And then all of a sudden, the stars are out and he showed in a 35-point game where he had 35 points. And you got to remember, he wasn't playing against scrubs. See, people say, oh, well, Minnesota set all their players down. No, they set down Karl Anthony Towns, which he doesn't guard, and they set out D'Angelo Russell, which he's a point guard. But their wing players continue to play, and Anthony Edwards played the whole game. So their main starters, 3 of their starters played. So you can't say that, he was playing against third-tier guys. Right. So if you're Billy Donovan, you should have been excited to say, wow, we got a new toy. How can the adjustment, we talk about playoff adjustment. What adjustments can we make offensively with this kid and now add him to the mix? And let's find a way to make him stand out and help us win this series.
So it's going to be an intriguing summer. We know that Arturas and Mark Eversley are very aggressive. They're going to make some bold moves. Don't be surprised if you see a couple of trades this summer. They have the 18th pick in the draft. They'll have the mid-level exception to add another player who can contribute right away. So we're looking forward to a very active, busy offseason for the Bulls. And one thing we know for sure is going to happen this summer, Stacy is going to enjoy a delicious steak dinner courtesy of that bet he made with Nick Friedell about who was going to finish with a better record, the Bulls or the Knicks, as we knew that was an easy win for you.
Well, listen, we tried to tell Nick this before we even started. It's like, Nick, I know you're all sold on the Knicks coming back and having a great season.
Tibbs apologist.
Everything. All kind of excuses. Low hanging fruit. Okay. Listen, I love Tibbs as a coach, but you just knew, injuries play an important role. Yeah. When Derrick Rose went out for the Knicks, they kind of went downhill because their second team, in my opinion, was better than their first team. Those guys coming off the bench, Obi Toppin, who should be a starter. Tibbs quickly. Tibbs would not play these young kids. Yeah. And he went with his veteran players, that's Tibbs' MO. And so those veteran players didn't perform like they were supposed to. And so later in the year, when guys got hurt and COVID or whatever, guys were out of the lineup, Derrick Rose gets hurt. So now you're forced to play Obi Toppin minutes. You're forced to play quickly minutes. You're forced to play all these Grimes and all these kids minutes. Mm-hmm. And they played extremely well. Yeah. And had Tibbs played them earlier, they might have been in the playoffs this year. So I think next year, they're going to look at this team and they're going to say, okay, Tibbs, you're on a short leash. I'm going to give you a short leash. You're going to play these kids here, and they got to do something with Julius Randle because Julius Randle is a high-volume shot guy. He's got to have a lot of shots, 25, 30 shots. He doesn't make his teammates better. He's a black hole. And he's an all-star, but he doesn't help your team win games. And I think Obi Toppin has shown. I'm gonna tell you something, man. If you haven't watched that kid play, he is one athletic being. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you watch him go from one change ends, he is one of the fastest players in the league from end to end. I'd like to sit up, do a 40-yard race between him and some guards and see who would win because that kid is a flyer and he's a big-time finisher. So I think they got to give him some more minutes next year and see where it goes.
All right, so we're going to make Nick Friedell, our good friend, eat some crow coming up next on Gimme the Hot Sauce. But before we do that, when it comes time for insurance for your auto, home, and business, make sure you contact the king of insurance, our good friend, nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich at jeffvuk.com. That's jeffvuk.com. And Stacy's going to have all summer to rest the golden pipes, but at least once a week we're going to hear the melodic tones on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Stacy, always remember, right?
Someone you can rely, who's always on your side. That's why there's Nationwide. That's why there's Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. Oh, the golden pipes. The golden pipes. Oh, you got treated on. Give me the hot sauce, baby. You got the extra version.
That's just made Pavel sweat.
Oh, Pavel's hot over there, baby. Cool him off, baby.
He just found out 2 donuts. He's all jacked up.
The season is over, but Stacy is in mid-season form. That was some great stuff on Gimme the Hot Sauce. And Nick Friedell, it's time to eat some crow.
Yes.
That is next. Oh, yeah, DJ Pavel's got some new stuff. He's been working this week, Stace.
Oh, man, I'm done with Pavel. You never know what to expect out of Pavel, America. This guy, he's always working the tables, always got some angle. We give him a lot of freedom here, but we're going to have to reel him in. We're going to have to reel him in, America. Yeah, he brought those old crusty donuts. Buy one, get 7 free.
And he's got your microphone off, Whispers.
Yeah,
it's a conspiracy.
It's
enough, right?
It's a reason why his mic's off.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
That's going back to that faulty cord,
Yeah. Look at him.
That's only about 5 months
Look at him,
old.
America. He's over there trying to fix it. Look at him.
So you think that Whispers doesn't say anything? He's trying to say something. You just can't hear.
Hey, listen, Mark, if he got here on time, he would have been able to check and do the mic check like the normal people do, okay?
That's right.
You do a mic check, you make sure your mic's working. He just jumps on the show. He doesn't even know if his mic's working.
One guy who's always ready is our good buddy Nick Friedell, who's kind enough to join the show. His main beat, the Brooklyn Nets, are done. The Chicago Bulls are done. And now it's just a question of where are you taking Stacy for that steak dinner that you own?
We're going to Joe's, Mark. That's happening.
That's right. When did you come to Chicago?
We're going to Joe's. I got to get over there in the summer, but I've been looking forward to that one for a while because that bet has been done for at least 4 or 5
Nick, it's been done. I'm not going to lie. Let me be honest, America. I was a little nervous. I was talking a lot of trash when we was number 1. And then we started falling down the ladder, baby. It was like we hit everything on the ladder. Blah, 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 blah. We got down to 6. I said, oh, Lord, can we still catch New York? We got to stay ahead of New York, baby.
And Tibbs had those guys going at the end.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, they started winning some games.
He did. He did because you know what? He finally started playing his young kids. If he would have done that earlier, they might have made the playoffs. Tibbs, I love Tibbs. Tibbs is a great coach, but sometimes Tibbs can be very stubborn, and he's going to stick to the guys he knows, as you know, and his veteran players. And I think had he played those younger kids and gave them a role to develop in, kind of similar to what we're seeing in New Orleans. You see all the young players from New Orleans that are now helping them in the playoffs. I think New York would have been the same way.
You got nothing to say, huh? Hey, is Derrick Rose going to be back with the Knicks next year?
I think so, but you never know for sure. And I saw Derek actually a few weeks ago, guys, and he seemed to be in really good spirits. Seems to really like New York.
Okay.
But the question is, what direction are they going? How long is Tibbs going to be there? Because I think we'd all agree that if they get into any trouble early in the season, he's probably the first guy who will be gone. So it's a tricky situation. And Stacey, we saw it for so long in Chicago. It just takes so long for Tom to develop that trust in younger guys. Yeah, and I think he started to at the end. And once he did, you saw some results. But you want to talk about a team in transition. That team, they've got some serious questions to answer there.
Well, and the one thing with Tibbs is, and you would think that he would have changed, because of all the stops that he had, and he had, these difficult situations with, younger players. You would think by now that he would understand that, like, hey, you know what? It didn't work in Chicago because X, Y, and Z.
People don't change, Stacy.
Yeah, well, it didn't work. It didn't work in Minnesota, X, Y, and Z. And then here you are now, because you don't know how many more chances you're going to get. You don't know how many more chances as a head coach that you're going to get. So you think that, Tibbs would have came with this job a little bit more open-minded to change a little bit. And it didn't really seem that way until he was forced to change because there were so many guys in and out of the lineups. I mean, how far? I'm not a big Julius Randle fan. I'm just not. I mean, he has to have. He's the guy that has to have the ball in his hands every single second of the play call. He holds the ball too much. He doesn't make the teammates around him better. And he's a high volume guy that needs 25 to 30 shots. And it takes away from all these other kids to develop. And I thought that was a big problem. And then the Madison Square Garden fans booing him. And it was almost like him against New York City, which you're not going to win that battle. Never.
Ever. Their problem, guys, to me, is a lot like the problem the Bulls have. And
that's uncalled for. Don't put us in that situation, Nick. I'm just going to stop you right there.
You
don't. Let me tell you something, Nick Friedell. You don't put us in the same situation that the Knicks are. We are in a much better boat than the Knicks. Okay, they hit an iceberg. We don't got an iceberg.
I don't think it's that much better because this is the overarching point. The Knicks don't have a superstar to build around, and neither do the Bulls. And DeMar DeRozan was awesome.
All NBA player.
A great year. But he is not a guy who's going to carry a team in the playoffs and win a series.
I listen. I object. I object, Your Honor. I object. I strongly object. Okay? So let me
So you
listen.
think that this team with DeRozan and LaVine as the core pieces up top, they're going to win a championship?
No. Okay, but I do say, listen, no. Hold up, Nick. Hold up, Nick. Before we change subjects here,
it's over.
Listen, we went from a team that was not in the playoffs last year. They needed a culture change. AK, Mark Eversley, JJ Polk, they decided to overhaul the roster and get the best available players to put together. They gave up some assets. You know, a lot of the assets they've given up, you've seen them go other places and they're playing well. I mean, we would love to have Wendell Carter Jr. on our team right now. I mean, let's be honest.
Thad Young.
You know, I mean, but you had to get, you know, for him to get DeMar DeRozan. So you had to give up something to get something, okay? So my thing is that, you know, there's levels to this. Did we expect them to win a championship this year? No. Did we expect them to finish better than they did? Yeah. But all the injuries and the COVID, every team went through it. I'm not going to sit here making excuses for the Bulls, but losing Lonzo Ball majority of the season, Patrick Williams pretty much the whole entire season, you know, Zach and DeMar in and out of the lineup here and there, Caruso injury. That to me, you know, was a huge telling point of this team. If that team doesn't get hurt, would have, could have, just like we say in horseshoes, okay? And every team can have this argument. If our guys wouldn't have been hurt, we could have done this. But let's be real. If the Bulls players, the way they were playing before they went out, had not gotten hurt, you're looking at a different seed. The Bulls are not the 6th seed. The Bulls are probably a top 3 seed going into the playoffs, and it's a whole different look when you have all their guys here. Because I think people now realize how important Lonzo Ball was to this team as far as his defense, the way he commands the transition game. He was the second leading rebounder, and he only played in 30-something games at the point guard position. So should the Bulls have made a move at the break? I think they should have. I think, you know, there was opportunities out there for them to make the move. I thought they should have got Boogie Cousins when he got released from Milwaukee. He was right down the street. He'd been playing in shape. He was ready to go. I think that would have been a great pickup for them to give them a low post scoring, which I think, as we saw, we needed that in that Milwaukee series because we had no one that can post up. Vooch, to me, is, he's a three-point shooter. You know, he's converted into a three-point. He's not the Vooch that we saw in Orlando, the back-to-the-basket Vooch that dominated people inside. He wasn't quite that for us here in Chicago, and I think he's got to get back to that.
Stace, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news here, but I don't care if every single one of those guys played in every single game this season. That team's not winning the title. And this team, I understand what you're saying. There was a bridge. The Bulls were irrelevant for several years.
Yes.
And we're having this conversation, guys. Weirdly, I've been reminded several times, this is the 10th year anniversary of Derek getting hurt the first time.
Yes.
Which was just awful. We all remember what happened. And I kept thinking how much has changed from that point. Professionally, my whole career changed because there's no way in the world I ever would have left Chicago if Derek doesn't get hurt and the Bulls are contending for titles all the time. But I say all that to say the Bulls reminded everybody just how much fun basketball is at the UC when it's packed and everybody's into it and they're relevant again. But from a distance, I watch this team and I think they are exactly who I thought they were going to be. They are a real solid team with a couple really good players up top, and DeMar was unbelievable, but they're just not good enough. And if I have learned anything in my time dating back to Tibbs and that whole run that we all experienced together, it is that superstars win in the postseason. And to me, and we can obviously disagree, we've been disagreeing about this team for about a year now, but they don't have superstars. They have a nice group that plays hard and it's fun to root for, but they don't have stars that can win in the playoffs.
How many teams
don't have that?
How many teams do, Nick? How many teams actually have a superstar?
Not many.
Not too
all
many.
All the teams in front of the Bulls right now, aside from, and we've gone through this, I remember last time, I'm not saying Gimme is a superstar. What I'm telling you is that Gimme combined with Bam Adebayo and Kyle Lowry and PJ Tucker.
They're good pieces.
And that whole group.
Tyler Hero.
They know where to be in the big moments. And Gimme is as close to a superstar probably as you can get without probably being on that level. So the Bucks have one.
Yeah, we know that.
Have one. Who am I?
What about the Celtics? You consider Tatum a superstar?
Tatum. Oh my God, guys! Tatum's the reason they won that series. I mean, Tatum is a difference maker, and that right there. Even if the Bulls had been completely healthy, they are not beating one of those teams. Again,
Man, please. Are you out your mind? I'm stopping you there, Nick.
Who are they beating?
Objection. If they are fully healthy, they are beating the Celtics. If they're fully healthy.
Oh, Stace. Oh, my God.
Listen. The Celtics sucked. The Celtics sucked in the beginning of the year, and you know it.
They did.
They were no different than what Atlanta did last year. Terrible in the first half, and then they finally put it together in the second half.
Called them out.
Okay, so and the Bulls beat them 2 times during that time. So and they had a full roster, the same roster they're playing with now that made a complete 360 turnaround. Decided that, hey guys, let's play together. Okay, please, Nick.
There is no way in hell. There is no way in hell.
Puff pass, Nick. Puff pass.
Watch the Celtics. There is 0% chance.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say this. The Celtics do not win that series if James Harden is still on that team, on Brooklyn's team. I guarantee you that.
They missed James Harden, but the Celtics are.
Nah, they would not have been able. If James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving show up on that, and all 3 of those guys are showing up at the end like they did. Listen, the season was sabotaged for Brooklyn from the start, okay? You got a guy who doesn't want to, and that's his choice. Kyrie Irving chose not to get the vaccination, which in turn set this whole wheel in motion. Okay, these guys all came to play together, came with him, and he doesn't want to take the shot when they all did. And then you get Joe Harris missing. You think about the guys they had missing, okay? Joe Harris is a outside shooter that lives off of double teams on KD and Kyrie Irving, okay? One of the best three-point shooters in the game. He's out for the year with injury. They've had a lot of major things happen, and if they still have James Harden, that is 3 legit guys that it's hard to account for. I believe they beat the Celtics.
I love you, and I just can't. I cannot go on that side because here's the other problem. Kevin is still awesome. The Celtics did the best defensive job, guys, that I've ever seen a team do on Kevin Durant. They were unbelievable on him. Kyrie was great in game 1. Kyrie disappeared for the next 3 games. He
looked disinterested, though. I mean,
he always does.
It just seemed like he wasn't into the series. Like his body language, and you know what? And that's what bothers me about him. He's such a talented kid, one of the top 10 players in the game. Here you are, you missed the majority of the season, put your team in peril, number one, and you don't want to come there and act like you want to be there and want to win. Kevin Durant is there because of you. James Harden got traded because of you. And you got the nerve not to come and act like you want to be there. I had a major problem with that.
You weren't alone. I think there were a lot of people that were scratching their heads at that whole situation. But Stace, that on top of the Kyrie stuff, and I think you put it very eloquently, as soon as he decided what he did, the season was a mess. But the point on Harden is, having watched him in those first couple months when I got here and compared that to what I had seen in the past, he is not anywhere near that same level now. So that's why I think people get caught sometimes in, well, they had these 3 stars. And I'm not saying that Harden wouldn't have helped in this series. Absolutely he would have. He would have been that offensive valve that they didn't have. But he is not close. And this goes back to what we were talking about all along. It is so rare to be able to have a superstar. And you know it when you see it. And to me, Harden's not in that conversation anymore. But I'd still probably take Harden over DeRozan or LaVine even in a diminished version, because Harden has played at a much higher level for the entirety of his career.
Objection.
Yeah, and he's come up short in every playoff series.
Objection again.
Okay, and Zach LaVine's won one playoff game.
Well, listen, Zach. This is Zach's first time getting to the playoffs. So you got to start somewhere.
Nick, you just said that Harden's looking like he's a player with diminishing skills. I don't want to say washed up because he's not washed up, but he's a guy that's on the downside. And I don't know if James, all the assets that Morey gave up to acquire him are going to bite him in the ass. He gave up 2 first-round picks. He gives up Seth Curry, Drummond, and Ben Simmons. Of course, Ben Simmons is our next topic, which is the ultimate head case. But, Morey really mortgaged the franchise. And Joel Embiid has kind of cryptically been hinting that we need more out of James. Actually, he said it outright. We need him to be more aggressive on the offensive end. Embiid's got to be sitting back in his private thoughts going, what in the hell are they doing bringing this guy in because he's on the decline?
Mark, completely. And I think there was a hope from the Sixers side and with Morey that, we'll get James in a place where he's comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And he will be at the top of the flow chart again with Embiid, and he'll be fine. And you watch him, and he's just nowhere close to where he was.
He's going to want $240 million this summer, too.
Yeah.
And Morey will probably give it to him.
I'm going to tell you something. That's a fireable offense.
Yeah, and Morey will do it.
To be honest with you, because here's my take on it, Nick. You could have made that trade in the summertime. You could have gotten. They held out. Morey held out for so many assets for this kid, and they basically got robbed in broad daylight without the mask on. The Brooklyn Nets came into the bank. And they didn't care for cameras on. When some people rob the bank, they always spray that black thing on the camera so they don't want you to see who it is who's robbing it. They walked in there, man, and they waved at the camera. Hey, how you doing? We're the Brooklyn Nets. We're here to rob you. That was robbery. But if you look at how it's turned out so far, because it's too early to say who won and who lost. If you're gonna, you could basically say that if you're a novice fan. Well, Brooklyn, lost that trade because Simmons didn't play. You got to look long haul. In the next 5 years, how that trade is going to pan out. I do still believe that Brooklyn won that trade over Philadelphia. I thought they got what they wanted. I thought they got the player that they wanted. Of course, he didn't play this year, and I think there's a lot more to Ben Simmons than what he's letting on. And I'm a conspiracy theorist. Okay, this is I live in that kind of world. The magic bullet. The grass. I'm that kind of guy. I believe that he's healthy enough to play. Okay. I believe that this is all stipulating from the contract situation in Philadelphia, the money that he's trying to recruit, that if he doesn't play, then it strengthens his argument why he didn't play in Philadelphia. And if he would have stepped on that court in his playoffs, that would have damaged his case because he went to the mental health issue. And no one can listen. We can't sit up here and say, "Oh, he doesn't have mental health." It's not our place to do that because that's something. If that's what happened, hey man, that's a serious thing. But now when you came out yesterday or a couple days ago talking about when everybody thought he was going to play. You was out there shooting. You was out there dunking. Matter of fact, there's a video he told you to tape it. Hey, get this. And then you saw him dunk the basketball. And so it looked like he was on his way to come back and play. And my thought process is, why wait till game 4? If he's able to play in game 3, why wouldn't you play him in game 3? And then if he's good after that, play him in game 4. Why do you got to wait, a day? Because there's only a day in between the games, maybe 2 days in between the games. And I just believe there was ulterior motives with this situation.
The one thing I would add for context, Stace, is all his teammates. I don't think any of those guys ever thought he was really going to play. Because every day I'm walking in there and I'm asking Durant and I'm asking Seth Curry and Drummond and Bruce Brown and I'm saying, do you expect Ben to play in this series? And their answer all the way down, same thing. I don't know. Yeah. So they knew that the whole thing was kind of a mess and nobody was ever banking on, if Ben gives us those 10 or 15 minutes. I think that part was definitely overblown in those days leading up. And whether or not he was really ready or the back was good, again, all I can tell you is from what we saw when he was out on the floor publicly and the times we could watch at the end of practice before a game, all we ever saw him doing was throwing passes to like Patty Mills over and over. So on the surface, I think, and this goes to your point, long term, what he does well really fits with the Nets. but can you trust him to be out there? And even more, does he want to be out there? Does he want to get to the grind and make himself a much better player? Only time will tell.
What do you think about that? Because you see a lot of people questioning whether he wants to play basketball or not. You see Stephen A. Smith, you see all these guys saying that they don't believe that he wants to play basketball. He likes the fame, the fortune, the money that comes along with it, and being a star in that right, but doesn't want to put the work in and do the things that and dedicate himself to help his team and help himself.
I don't know him well enough to have a strong read either way. What I can tell you is that what you just described was the knock on him in Philly of I don't know how much he wants to be there and wants to put in the extra work and wants to take that next step. On the day, and this goes back to the end of February, where he was supposed to do more, where he was going to come in and they were going to really ramp it up. That was the day he said, hey, something's going on my back, and I got to get it looked at. And he never played from that point in time. So I think the Nets people in the organization, they understood that that was the reputation that he had developed in Philly was, I don't know if he wants it. And I'd say as we go into the summer now, as the Nets try to figure out what the hell they're going to do next, they still don't have a clear-cut answer to that question.
How did he hurt his back anyway? Like, I've not heard anyone say, because, you go back and say, well, he got hurt in the playoff series last year when Philadelphia lost, blah, blah, blah. But you haven't heard anyone actually say, well, he hurt his back A, B, or C. How did he hurt his back?
It's very murky. I think it sounds like he just woke up one day and he didn't feel right. And Stace, you can speak to this better than anyone in that if you're 25 years old as a pro basketball player and you have back issues, that's a real big problem on top of does he want to be out there, the mental health stuff. You've got back issues at 25. Those are the type of things that don't go away. You know, that doesn't just disappear with some rehab work. That is something that lingers for a lot of different guys. So there are red flags aplenty in this Ben Simmons situation, but in the same breath, he's still 25. He's a former All-Star, and you would like to think that he'd be motivated as hell to come back next season and say to everybody, hey, I am ready to show you that I can still play at a very high level, but we're going to have to wait to find out.
Here's one thing, Nick, as a player, former player, like on being on a championship team like Chicago, okay, you see Michael Jordan come out every single day and he's busting his butt and he's getting beat up. And, so as a young player, you cannot come to a practice or game and not participate. You know what I'm saying? The pressure of seeing the great player come every single day. And back then, it was much more physical. And Michael played 40-plus minutes and come into practice the next day and go hard, just like he was the 15th man. So that puts pressure on everybody else to start showing up. My question to about Ben is the fact that, here when I was on a bad team, Minnesota, okay, you had guys miss practice for like stupid reasons. Oh, my toe hurts. Oh, I got an ingrown toenail. My fingernail hurts. And the one thing they always figured out is to really get out of practice, you can make these muscular injuries that it's hard to detect if it's really an injury or not an injury. And you had a lot of guys, say, oh, my back hurts. And unless you go in and they do an x-ray and they see that you got lumbar region problems, you got disc problems, if you're having muscular, because we've all had, back spasms. We've all had back spasms and they're very painful. But heat and NBA players have access to the best doctors, the best rehab people. And so, unless he has a lumbar region or a disc problem, which you think they would already said that, like he's, he's got a disc problem, then everybody, okay, then that gets everybody off of him as far as, oh, he's too soft. You know what I'm saying? But none of that's come out. I've heard no one say he's got any kind of, spine issues or lumbar region, nothing, because normally that's what happens. A team will say, hey, he went to x-ray. They found out that he's got disc 3, needs to be repaired, whatever. Like Scotty, when Scotty's back was out, they all knew everybody in the NBA knew what was wrong with Scottie Pippen's back. Okay. You don't get the same thing with Ben Simmons. No one is coming. At least the Nets are not coming to his aid saying, hey, he's got disc problems or he's got a spine problem. It seems to me it's almost like, he's saying mental issues. He's got to have mental health issues. Now that's resorting into his back being hurt. And that was the craziest thing I've ever heard.
And for just a little more context, the one thing they said was that all these different tests in the last 2+ months now, it revealed early on a herniated disc. So they gave him an epidural. But after that point, the Nets were they just kept, the messaging was, we want Ben to feel comfortable. We want him to come to us and say he's ready to play. And what's so interesting to me, guys, is that you mentioned that video. And for those that didn't see it, this is probably 10 days ago now. This is a weekend and a half ago. But I walk into practice, and there's only a few people there because a lot of people were traveling to Boston already. And Simmons kind of sees us with the cameras, and he sees me fiddling with the camera, and he looks over at me and goes, hey, make sure you get this. And he throws down the dunk. And he walks off, and he's like, there you go. And you're thinking, okay. And this was a day after he had his first press conference since he'd been cleared to return to practice. And he said, I'm confident that I'll fit in. I'm ready to roll. It's just a matter of kind of building everything back up. And you're thinking, all right, well, he may actually play in this series. And to go from that to whatever we're going to see here is really something, because all those different things led to a point where everybody had built it up that he's going to return in this series. But I would tell you all this. I never got the sense it was the Nets. I never got the sense it was the Nets who were saying, come back, we need you. The Nets publicly at every turn said, we want to support Ben and we want to be there for him. I got the sense that it was the people around Simmons, and maybe Simmons himself wanting to kind of push a little more, that were saying, hey, I can do this, I'll be ready. And then it wasn't meant to be.
Wow.
Hey, Nick, we see you got the Cubs hat going. Seiya Suzuki leading the National League in on-base percentage. Cubs got their new star, even though he doesn't speak English. But you're going to be taking in some games at Wrigley this summer now that the Nets are done?
I've got a couple more assignments, Mark. They're going to make me go to one of these East series. It remains to be seen exactly which one. But once all that finishes, I will be there for sure, Wrigley, in between paying off my bet to my man Stacy.
That's right.
And then I just hope that they can keep getting better, because it has been a struggle, honestly, from a distance, not being there anymore. I mean, the Cubs are my team. They've been my team my whole life. But I got to know all those players as a fan. Sure. You're watching the Javis and the Bryants and Rizzos and Arrieta and everybody who made that title happen. And to see now that it's like Hendricks, Contreras, Jason Hayward's still there, but he's not good. And then all the rest of these guys who are like, who the hell are these dudes?
Yeah.
Suzuki's been great early, but it is that process as a fan that you have to relearn a whole different slew of guys who may not be there that long. So that part it's been an adjustment, even as a lifelong fan now.
It's got to be for Cubs fans. It's got to be really difficult to see Rizzo leading the majors in home runs.
Yeah, 3 home runs the other night.
3 home runs in a game the other night. That's just got to be painful, because they had an opportunity, didn't they, to bring him back as a.
There were some discussions.
But it just kind of went away.
And it's sad, because it all ties back into and let the record show that I was on board with all the moves the front office made, the Cubs front office. Because if Rizzo, Bryant, Javi, they don't want to sign for what the Cubs are offering, which I thought was pretty fair and will withstand the test of time, as Jed Hoyer said a while back. That's the deal, because you want to pay for what's going to happen in the future, not what happened in the past, which, guys, segues nicely into, I have a question for the panel.
Okay.
The Zach LaVine max extension. What are you doing there? Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
And there's the answer.
Stacy's got
No, I'm gonna let Mark.
bosses to
I'm gonna
worry
let
about.
Mark. No, I'm gonna let Mark
There's the
answer.
answer.
No, wait a minute. I'm gonna let Mark answer first because he's the oldest. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm a big Zach LaVine fan. I've liked Zach since he arrived in Chicago. The first words out of his mouth were he wants to make this franchise great again, and he put in a lot of work to improve his game. I think that he has earned that max extension, and I think the Bulls will give it to him. That's my take on it.
My take is yeah, because where else are you going to get a player like Zach? I mean, you're think about how long it took us to get a player like that after Jimmy. Like the Bulls got very fortunate from that Jimmy Butler trade that we were able to get some of those pieces back that we got. Now, of course, we don't have Chris Dunn, and I honestly believe that had they developed him the way into a Marcus Smart type of player and he would have fit that role, he could have been a Marcus Smart type of player with the way he defends 94 feet and as tough as he is. I thought they mishandled that situation a little bit. And I think Chris wanted to be something that he wasn't because he was a lottery pick and he thought he was, like a Dame Lillard, and that wasn't his role. I think if they would have convinced him to be Marcus Smart, because you can see now those players are invaluable. 4 or 5 years later, those guys are getting big money now to be able to, like a Caruso, guys that can play defense and that can change the complexion of your team with their defense and their toughness. Those guys are a premium now. And then Lowry Markin, I was a big fan of Lowry. I thought, Lowry had an opportunity when he first got here under Fred that he had an opportunity to be an all-star. And, whatever happened, it didn't work out. And you saw him in the playoffs this year. Lowry is a 7-footer that is actually a small forward. Like he's a small forward in a 7-foot body. And I think they wanted him to be more big, and that's just not who he is. You saw him in Cleveland. I mean, he disappeared in Cleveland, in the playoff series where he's got to get out there and defend smaller, quicker guys with that big lineup, and it's tough. But I think they won with Zach, though. I mean, Zach's coming off ACL injury when we got him. No one knew that Zach we knew what kind of athlete he was. We knew that he was, top 5 athletically, but we didn't know what kind of player you were getting. You were taking a chance. You were just going off potential because they didn't want to give up Wiggins, if you remember that, and they didn't want to give up, Karl Anthony Towns. Those were the two guys that they really wanted, but they weren't able to get those guys. So Zach was basically the throw-in, like, okay, we'll take Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine, I think, exceeded all expectations, turned himself into an all-star. And yeah, people say, well, what do you call those empty calories or whatever that stuff? That's not his fault. I mean, Zach is a scorer. I personally would like to see Zach because I believe he has the athletic ability to be a great two-way player. I do. I just do. I saw him on the Olympic team when he had to realize the only way he was going to get on the floor is he had to focus on defense. I saw it this year early in the season when the Bulls were winning. I saw that he had a commitment to defense and that he can play it. And I think later in the season, I think he went back and resorted back to offense first and was more about the offense than the defense. And, I said this the other night, last night, your 3 best players have to be your 3 best players on offense and defense. Your 3 best players can't be your 3 worst defensive players. You have no chance to go deep in the play. You might win a series, but you're not going to go deep in the playoffs if your 3 best players are not your 3 best players on both sides of the ball. And that's something that, I think they're going to have to address. But you got to pay them because, I mean, what's your alternative? To let him walk? Sign and trade? Well,
I mean, the alternative would be, and this is why, guys, I'm the first to admit LaVine proved me wrong because I would have only given him $60+ million 4 years ago. He got 80. He deserved and has proven he deserved that. If you sign him to this max, the lens that you now view Zach LaVine in completely changes. Because if you are a max player, Stacy, to your point, you got to do more than score 23, 24 a game. You have to have more of an impact on the game. And so it's why I would tell anybody who would listen to me 2 years ago, that's when I would have traded him. I absolutely would have moved him because he would have had 1.5 years left on a manageable deal and let somebody else decide. Because the pause is all you need to know. when people say,
you know what, though? You know what? And I get where you're going. I mean, but the way the pay scale is in this league is wrong anyway. Okay, let's just be honest. You're paying star players like they're superstar players. Everybody. Okay, let's be honest, there's only a handful of guys in this league that should be $40 million players a year. Okay, there should be levels to this. And you go to that top level, a top tier, okay? Top tier. Let's see who you got. I got Luka as a top tier player. I got Dame Lillard as a top tier player.
Giannis, LeBron,
Kevin. Okay,
Embiid.
Jokic. That's 7 right there. We got 7 right now. It's gonna be Steph. It's gonna be hard to get 10 or more. Think about that.
We'd have to sit down and think through it all. But Stace, to your point, and this is my point when we started the conversation. Zach, on paper, Olympic team, 2 All-Stars, 28 years old. On paper, he checks all the boxes, 25 a game. My opinion, you're never winning anything with him as one of your top 2 guys. He has never shown anything that leads you to believe that he's going to turn into that two-way player, because the conversation that we're having is the same one we had 4 years ago when it was like, it'd be really nice if Zach, with all his athletic ability, turns into a consistent two-way player. How is it going to turn now?
But what do you do then, Nick? Let's say you're AK and you're at this position right now. You're AK and Mark. You're at a position now that you have to make a decision on him this summer. Do you give him max what's your other alternative? Let him walk?
Here are the 2 alternatives if I were in their shoes. You work like hell to find a sign and trade to get something back in return, and you hope that it's either a pick or somebody who can help it in your future, or you let him walk. Because there's just no way to me that you are going to spend $200 some odd million on a guy who just doesn't impact winning that much. And people can have different opinions, and they can say, I don't think so. That's fine. I would say, let's take your $19.5 million in cap space and get 2 players who can do a lot of the same things, especially better on the defensive end than LaVine can. And Stace, I'm with you. Unbelievable scorer, athletic ability like crazy, but he's got knee problems in the past. He's got a knee problem now. And there's nothing I've seen in the last few years that would lead me to believe that he's going to be able to take that gigantic step that this team needs right now from him if you give him this deal. So if you said, would you have to sign him or would you let him walk? If you couldn't work out a sign and trade, to me, I would probably let him walk.
I think the big fear of that is that, first of all, he's a 2-time All-Star. And regardless of how people look at that as being hollow because the Eastern Conference was not, the Eastern Conference was some really good players now. The Eastern Conference is kind of balancing out now. The conferences are kind of balancing out as far as the power is concerned, okay? But Nick, you can't let a 2-time All-Star. It's one thing letting a guy who's a good player walk. Like when we had Pau Gasol, and I felt like with Pau Gasol, you got to get something out of him. Don't let him get to the end of the season and then he's able to walk. And when he ended up going to San Antonio, which he was a starter for us, where I thought you could get a number 1 pick or something for him. You got to get something. Even if you got a bag of Doritos, you got to get something for that player. You just can't let him walk. And I just can't see AK and Mark letting Zach walk unless they can do a sign and trade, because at the end of the day, this is year 8 for Zach. And the question that you got to ask yourself is, what's his ceiling from this point forward? And you have some valid points. Can he take?
But I think we're there. That's exactly
my point. And you got to remember, AK and them have only seen him up close, 2 years now. So, and they got to make a decision. It's not like they've had him in their system for 5-6 years and they know what they got. They've had him for 2 years. So if you're going to do a sign and trade, you better get it's got to be star for star. You got to bring a star in here. You can't just let a guy like that just walk.
This is the problem. And this is the whole arc of our conversation, because if we were listing the stars, and LaVine is a star given what he's accomplished, all-star games, he is at the low end of that spectrum. And you're not going to get somebody in here who is going to be that much better on that type of level with the accomplishments that he has on his resume. But this is why you've got to kind of look through the distance and say, am I going to win a title if I am paying this guy max money? And for me, that answer is abundantly clear. I mean, just no. Like it's not going to happen.
Let's just be real, Nick. We know how you feel. Okay, we know how you feel there, buddy. We know you're gonna say no. Yeah, look at his face. He know he's gonna say no.
Of course. I mean, like,
I'm sorry.
It's why I mean, you guys have heard me say it through the last year, but
we'll never make it. We're doomed.
It was so frustrating for me because so many of my closest friends are still in Chicago and they're watching that team play early on and they're going, oh my gosh, they're back. And I'm like, going, wait a minute. This team could not beat one team that was any good. Like they just couldn't do it. They were terrible against all the really good teams. And now I'm hearing all this, let's bring it back and let's give Zach the max. What? Do you know how good DeMar DeRozan has to be next season to even come close to where he was? He was incredible this year. I just don't see that team being able to replicate what they've already now done. And to me, and I might be way wrong, and I'm happy to come back next year and say, hey, I was wrong. This looks and feels a lot like what the Knicks went through this year, that you had this really good, really strong season, and you reminded people how much fun it can be. And then you look at the roster and you're like, I don't know. I don't see.
It looks like we're going to have another bet for next year's. Stacey.
Yeah, I listen.
Listen,
I see where you coming from, Nick, but I see something totally different. I think the biggest thing for me, because I watch them every night, I think they have to change their system a little bit. They're going to have to get a little bit more. Billy's going to have to get a little bit more creative with his offense. It was exposed in this playoff series. They've been doing the same thing all season long. And as you know, playoffs are about adjustments. And I just didn't feel like, the adjustments were good, when it came to the offense. Because, listen, it's easy to defend your best players when you put them at the top of the circle. Okay, because you can force them one way where help is constantly. And Milwaukee is one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. And they'll give up all these threes, okay? Because they realize, people say, well, they're giving, the Bulls are missing wide open shots. Why do you think they were open? Because Milwaukee didn't respect any of the shooters. So they said, hey, let's cut off the head of the snake and let's get DeRozan out of here and make it difficult to make him have to give the ball up. And we'll live with guys shooting wide open threes because we don't believe they can hit it. And it proved right. After those first two games, in Milwaukee, where both teams really shot terrible, they clamped down the defense because, DeMar had that second game where he had 41, where they were single coverage. He was able to get to his spots like he's been able to the whole season. And when they came back in game 3, their adjustment was, okay, here's the deal. We're not going to double him, but we're going to shade him and make him go left with his left hand where there's help. So where he likes to get to the elbows, there was constant pressure there every single time. He had no open looks at the basket like he's had all year. And I think I felt the adjustment should have been made is to have him more on the wing and have him put him in pick and roll situations on the wing with the big, then keeping him at the top and saying ISO, ISO, ISO. Because when you bring Vooch to the top of the circle, which Giannis was mostly on Vooch most of the time anyway, that's like having two extra defensive players up there because he can cover so much ground and he can also help Drew Holiday, who did a great job of hounding DeMar. And then the other kid, Matthews Jr., did a great job of staying in front of DeMar, not letting him get to the spot. So I just felt like if the system changes a little bit, because I believe, just look at the numbers don't lie. Zach is one of the better catch and shoot guys in the league. He comes off screens, catch and shoot. That's where I feel like they need to take advantage of those kind of situations in their system, where you're bringing him off some single doubles. You're bringing him off some catch and shoots. You never see Zach in those, like you see Klay Thompson or Steph Curry or Booker. You never see him on the move. Everything is stationary, beat you off the dribble with his athleticism and try to create off the bounce. You never see him on the move where he's coming off a screen and he's catching, turning, and shooting the basketball. You never see that. And I think that's something that they can really, if they bring him back and they sign him to a max deal, both him and DeMar, it would help them tremendously to do other things instead of just iso ball. And then on the flip side of that is that you got to get better play out of Patrick Williams. You got to commit to him as being your third option next year. He's proven that when you let him play and you turn him loose, he can do some really spectacular things out there. But he's not one of those kids that you have to pull things out of him, Nick. He's not one of those guys you just throw on the floor like a Scotty Barnes and he's just aggressive. That's not his nature. And you got to tell him, hey, we need you to do this. You got to, they're like, Phil, I said this last night. Phil Jackson knew which buttons to push on every player on our roster. He knew which players he could, get on and yell at, and he knew what players that needed a little bit more nurturing, that needed a little bit, hey, you're doing a great job. Just keep working hard. You got to motivate people differently. Everybody can't be motivated the same way. And I think that's got to be something that's got to be looked at because they got enough talent to get back to the playoffs next year and do well. I think they need to get another big man. I don't know where you're going to get him, but they need to get a big man that can post up in there. Take some pressure off Vooch if you can, because Vooch is I think Vooch is under contract one more season. He's up after next year. I think he's got an expiring deal. So you got to get another big. And then you got to get in my opinion, you got to get some knockdown shooters. Because one thing that we saw in this playoffs that was exposed is that, the Bulls shot 52 threes. And, they hit, 14 of 52, I think. It was crazy. I was sitting there thinking okay, guys, you missed 10 in a row. I think you might want to get to the basket. Put the ball, hey, don't be afraid to cut or sit a back screen or something. And they just kept firing them up. And then Milwaukee would come back and then they would score inside. And, the points in the paint differential in the first half was crazy. But they need to get a knockdown shooter. They got to find some kind of outside guy like that Kyle Korver type of guy, JJ Redick type of guy that's a veteran player that wants to come in and play on a team that has a chance to get to the playoffs and do well.
But Stace, this is my problem with the decisions that were made a year ago, because this is the team. If you max out Zach, you don't have any cap space. You have traded away a whole ton of future picks in the Vucevic deal and some of the other deals. This is why I never understood why they decided to go the route that they did, because you have pushed yourself all in for definitely improved, a reminder of the good days from the past, but you're just, again, to me, you're not close to a title. And so if the feeling is, all right, we're going to make these moves, we're going to be more competitive. I understand. You're going to fill up the UC. People are going to be into the team again. But that is a complete 180 from what it used to be, because the old guard was, hey, we are all about winning a title and trying to build towards winning a title. And to me, this team is not close to a title at all. And I don't know. People say, well, what moves do you make? Look at the money that's already on there. Look at the picks that aren't there. I don't know how you improve that much from the team that we saw this season.
All right, Nick. Well, I think that's a good jumping off point. We've kind of finished up where we started with you drawing the ire of Bulls fans everywhere. So
we'll never make it. We're doomed.
Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with the rest of the playoffs.
Well, hold on, Nick. Do you believe in the Kardashian curse since you are an analyst?
Oh man. Yeah, I got the Friedel curse bounced back at me last night about 300 different times. No, I don't believe in any of these curses. I was at Game 7 where my Cubbies won it. I'm not into any of that stuff. So everybody can keep throwing it at me, and that's
had to check.
Well, Nick, I'm just telling you right now, I object to everything you said. and I'm going on record to say I love you like a brother, okay? And I know your mom is listening, and I know she's going to slap you as soon as she sees you talking all this trash about the Bulls, okay? Nick, I'm just going to say this. We are back, baby. We'll be back in the playoffs next year. We're going to be healthy. We're going to add a couple additions to the team. And you're going to still be saying, this is not a championship team. They're not going to. We're number 1 seed in the East. You're not a championship team. This team is going to get beat in the first round. No, they're not. Nick, you better jump on board. And remember, King told you, just like I told you last summer, the Bulls are going to be better than the Knicks. And look at us now. we were better than the Knicks.
Hey, they're sitting at home right with the Knicks right now.
Hey, listen. We got more playoff games than they did. Okay. All right, buddy. Okay. Tibbs is out. Tibbs at home right now, pulling out the little hair that he has that he's upset that they didn't make the playoffs. Okay. We made the playoffs, son. We made the playoffs.
So did D'Angelo Russell.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man!
Hey, come on, we gotta. That's Nick's guy.
Man. Listen. Don't even get Minnesota. First of all, Minnesota should be ashamed of themselves. Okay, you can't have 20-point leads and dominating the series and then let them come back and win. That if they lose this series, that's on them. That they had an opportunity to really do some good things, man. That's a great series though. All the playoffs have been really good. I watched that New Orleans game and Phoenix, and Booker makes such a big difference in them. But to have New Orleans be even close to Phoenix, I don't think anyone saw this. Their team that was in the play-in game, and then you got Zion Williamson over there talking about his people are putting out there he can play. And I think New Orleans is like, no, sit down the sideline. We're good. We'll see you next year, buddy. We're good, okay? Because he's putting out all these dunk videos. He's out there, he's dunking, and everybody's like, hey, you can play. And then New Orleans is like, no, just stay over there. We got a chance to win this series. We'll pick you up next year, son. Just sit over there.
Sit down, Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, sit down. Leave those beignets alone, brother. Leave those beignets alone, bro.
Nick, you're the best, man. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to get together and go to a Cubs game this summer, right?
Oh, we gonna get together, all right.
Guys.
Oh, we gonna get together, all right. I'll be waiting, boy. Make sure you bring that. Get that ESPN Platinum card. Hey, I don't want to hear. Hey, Nick, I don't want to hear any time about the car was declined. Stacy, hey, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Okay, don't pull that wimpy on me, man. Pull that platinum card out.
I need Danny Whitesaki to help me with
there you go.
cards.
Yeah. I think I got a couple of those in the drawer somewhere. I'll help you out.
Yeah. Stacy, I'm having a hard time right now. I'm not making the same money I did at Golden State, but hey, man, look, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. No. We gonna get some real food, baby. Don't be trying to take me to a Steak and Shake either. Nah, that ain't working, bro.
That's our guy, Nick Friedell, episode 76 of Gimme the Hot Sauce.
Way to go, Nick.
Bye, y'all.
Bulls Nation. If you like hot sauce and barbecue sauce, then you are listening to the right show. Gimme the Hot Sauce has the best small batch organic sauces to spice up your kitchen. Chicago-style red sauce with garlic twist, our St. Pat's Verde green sauce with extra avocado and cilantro, which is my favorite, and our King's Q, a bold, spicy, and sweet sauce just like me. And we just added a new bottle, Chicago Fire, 1871. It's our hottest hot sauce that we have. And if you like your mouth to burn and you like to sweat, make sure you get a bottle of 1871 and she'll like it too. And if you order, you get the code, use code hot sauce 21 and get 21% off your first order. See how we did that? 21, hot sauce 21. Okay, there you go, America. That's hot sauce for 21% off. Go to GimmeTheHotSauce.com today. And that's it. And she'll like it too.
We went way over on an interview with Nick Friedell, so we're going to make this last segment fairly short. But Stacy, you have a friendship with Mike Tyson. Were you surprised to see that story recently about him getting into a little scuffle on the airplane?
I'm not surprised by any of that because when I saw that, it would have probably only taken me 5 minutes before I would have gave somebody a 2-piece with no soda. I'm on a plane minding my own business and I'm being harassed by somebody behind me. Yeah. And the first thing I would have done, I would have hit the little button and told the stewardesses to come by and say, hey, look, gentleman behind me is harassing me and he's just bothering me. Can you please tell him to stop or move him or move me?
Yeah, but what do you say? I'm the best mofo on earth. So I don't need this guy behind me throwing water bottles at me and calling me a peasant.
Well, I'm just going to tell you right now, like Mike Tyson, I thought it was over an hour. Tim said it was over an hour.
Over an hour and 40 minutes.
Over an hour and 40 minutes. I only saw a little bit.
How stupid can you be?
Like, well, how long do you poke a bear or stick your arm in a tiger cage?
We live in a world, gentlemen, where we call clout chasing. Okay, everybody wants to be online. Everybody wants to be famous. They'll do anything to be famous. There's people get hit by a car. Like, watch me get hit by a car, and they're filming it. Just so to get followers and people to watch the video. So it doesn't surprise me that someone like that would be trying to do something like that. And knowing that it's Mike Tyson, knowing the chances of you being able to survive a beating is very slim to none. And you're going to continue to badger this man. You're going to continue to harass him. This is a guy who made a living of knocking people's heads off their shoulder, and you want to harass him. Now, I give Mike a lot of credit because Mike's into the Zen, and he's into all this stuff to calm himself down, and he knows how to breathe. And he probably was sitting there. You have the devil and they have the angel on your shoulder. There was an evil Mike Tyson that wanted to beat him up earlier.
Just hit him. Just hit him.
Knock his head off. Knock his head off. But then the angel Mike Tyson, no, we've changed. We're not doing that, Mike. Sit here, just relax, take your deep breath, eat some peanuts, and drink your soda. We're not going to do this. And then the dude just kept on. And then finally, the devil Mike Tyson snapped and beat the crap out of him. And that's what the guy wanted. Because all he wanted was to get on to be clout chasing and then to possibly sue.
Right.
You would take an ass whooping from the former heavyweight champion of the world just to get paid. That is insane.
Yeah, he's
Why?
winning the Darwin Awards this year. Think about that. If you write that up, I harassed Mike Tyson for an hour and a half on a plane and got my ass beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you win.
Yeah, you win. I mean, but he got what he wanted. He got clout. He got his name on all the internet. It went viral. He got the views. But you look stupid doing that. It just makes no sense. And someone else will try it. Entertainers, movie stars, people get that all the time, but you really never catch it on video. But you hear about it. Guys punching the photographers because the photographers are in their face and won't let them get to their car or whatever. You hear about it all the time. But to basically verbally attack Mike Tyson and harass him on a plane, man, and it was a late night plane. It was like a red eye. And it's like, well, shouldn't you be asleep? Go to sleep. That's what I would tell him. Like, look, man, you go to sleep on your own, or I'll put you to sleep.
Put you to sleep.
Those are the two choices.
But how's that start? You go, you know what? There's Mike Tyson. I think I'm going to harass him for a while.
Because he might have been drunk, though. I don't know if he had been drinking.
He was drunk, for sure.
Yeah, I don't, because you had to be.
Yeah.
You had to be. Because alcohol gives you liquid.
Stupid.
It gives you liquid courage. Because I noticed, like, when we would go out when we were younger, we'd go out to the clubs, 34s, all the little hot spots, when we were in our heyday, when we were winning championships and stuff. There'd be girls at all these clubs, and they all run up to you, and then the boyfriend would get mad. Well, don't get mad at me. It's not like if I'm disrespecting you by coming up to you and saying, hey, what are you doing with this loser? If I say that, then I can see you being mad. But if your girlfriend running up to me and throwing herself on me, you should be mad at her. And then those guys would start to drink a little bit and get some alcohol in their system. And all of a sudden, they would be liquid courage. They want to come up and challenge you, and it's like, dude, I will end you. Like, this is not even necessary. Like, here's your girlfriend. Here, I don't want to talk to her. She's coming to me. Get mad at her, that kind of thing. But you can see the same thing. I just, this is clout chasing. These are guys that want to be on the internet. They want to be viral. They want to go viral. They want likes and all that other stuff. And you see it on YouTube all the time.
Speaking of celebrities, you ran into one of the stars of Force.
Yes. Yeah. I'm meeting the whole crew, baby. Who knows? They may put me on Force, baby. You may see me out there. I might be in the CBI, baby. I might be toting the gun, shooting at Diamond. I don't know. But I ran into Diamond, who is the brother on Force,
right?
Isaac Keys. He was at the game last night, and we were doing a crossover at the end of the game.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm doing a crossover. We're talking to Kendall and Will and JG. And then all of a sudden I see him walk across. I said, oh! And I'm in the middle of the interview. I was like, oh, hey, there goes my man Diamond. Oh, Forrest. And so we went completely off camera, and the camera follows and it gets the interview and all that stuff. So it was pretty cool. And, he's going to come on the show. Matter of fact, he's coming on next week. He said he's going to come on next week. So, see, America, Bulls Nation, get ready. We're going to bring it because they're getting ready to start filming season 2 here in Chicago. So, he's originally from St. Louis. So, he was in Chicago because they're getting ready to start filming second season. And so, that's why he was in Chicago. So, he's going to come on next week. He gave me his word.
And you said you had a man code violation?
Oh, man, it was a man code violation. Yeah, I've been avoiding man code violations a while because I haven't been in my health club. So I've been avoiding them. Okay, but
they're disturbing.
Yeah, I was in Milwaukee. And a fan came up. You know how people come up to you, hey, I'm a big fan, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, cool. I'm a man of the people.
Sure.
I love the fans. I love Bulls Nation. I'll come up, take pictures with you, whatever. And so I don't know if this guy had been drinking. It was after game 2. When we won.
Yeah.
So people were excited.
Yeah.
All the Chicago, because the Bulls fans travel. Like we were number one. We were number one on the road this year. We were number one at home this year in attendance. So we travel big. And so this guy might have been drinking a little bit too much. And so he's like, Stacy, can I get a picture? And I'd already given out like 100 of them. I was like, I was getting ready to leave. And, I was tired. I'm like, yeah, no problem, my man. So I'm getting ready to give the guy, he's coming in like, how you give them the 5, you
right,
say,
right.
Hey, what's up, my man? And, hit shoulders. He didn't hit shoulders. He was going in for the kiss.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was going in. He was going in to kiss like we were European or something. Like he was gonna give me the kiss, 2 cheeks on the cheeks. So as I give him dap, America, how you give somebody dap and then you pull him in, you give him that little chest bump, little shoulder bump. He went in for the smooch.
Oh my God.
And he was like, oh man, I just want to kiss you. I said, hey man, it ain't that type of party. I said, hey, back up. Hey, back up. Hey, free space. You're in my space.
Otherwise, he gets the Will Smith, right?
Man, he was getting ready. Hey, keep me off your lips. Forget my name. Keep Stacy King off your lips because you're not kissing me, boy. I was like, I couldn't. And then the security guard was like, I can't believe he tried to kiss you. I said, dude, I didn't. And you know what? And I wasn't expecting that.
No.
He almost got me. But the reflexes of a ninja, I was able.
Pava liked that one.
I was able to thwart the attack.
You did a major?
Yeah. Dude, I was like, seriously, he almost got me. Because as I went in for the check and the shoulder bump, like, what's up, my man? Gave him the hand, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, as I was bringing him in to give him, he was like this.
Oh, my gosh.
So was he disappointed then?
Let me tell you something. We didn't even ask. I was like, hey, end of this session.
Security.
I was like, I got to go, man. Hey, go Bulls. Drive home safely. Drive back to Chicago safely, my man. Beep, beep. I was like, man, I couldn't do it, baby. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Oh, Lord. Ban code violation. I said, where are my boys at when I need them? And you know what? It was so scary. It caught me off guard. The alarm went off. Whoop, whoop, in my head. Whoop, whoop, man code violation. And all I could think of is Tim.
Did you hand him the card?
We got to get him a card.
No,
yeah.
I didn't have a card.
These are the rules.
No, but listen, I didn't have time for the card because he caught me off guard. Okay, when you get caught off guard, it's like it's like being like somebody jumping out of a room scaring you. You're walking, you don't see that person, they jump out, wah! And you all. It was like one of those moments.
Yeah. But on their neck.
But dude, I saw it coming. But you know how things come at you, Mark, slow motion.
Yeah,
it's like slow. It was coming at me.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, and I'm like, this dude's not getting ready to try to kiss me, is he? And he's like, oh, I just want to kiss you, man. I'm so excited. I'm like, no, it's not going to happen.
That is an unpleasant word.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done. Mark.
The other thing I noticed during the postgame show, you worked in the Windy City limo play, which was really, really well done.
Listen, let me tell you something. I snuck that in.
Yeah.
Because they're not a sponsor, so I snuck it in. They're a sponsor to Gimme the hot sauce, but they're not a sponsor to the Bulls, so I snuck that in. But let me tell you something. My driver, Gene Jesrick, okay, he just came back from hip replacement surgery, okay, so he's a trooper. Dude's moving super fast. I couldn't believe how fast he's moving with a bad hip.
You should take a note out of his book.
Why don't you shut up, okay? I'm already 2 steps ahead of you, okay? You need to be quiet. Okay?
I'm watching you.
Okay, I'm watching you over there, buddy. So he drives me to Milwaukee for games 1, 2, and then game 5. So, like, I told him, I said, hey, you don't have to work. I said, just, be casual and everything. And so he took it seriously. He was casual. He's like, yeah. And he wasn't working, and he was great because we got there, yesterday's game was 6:30, so it was an early game. And, we got there in plenty of time. And, man, I tell you what, I don't mind that drive to Milwaukee, especially when I lived up north because it was only 35 minutes. Easy drive, yeah. But now coming from the city, it's a lot longer,
I used to drive you.
Oh my God, I don't remember that, Tim. I don't
replaced.
30 years of abuse. But anyway, shout out to Windy City because they have done an excellent job of making sure I was taken care of this year.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if they were taking me to the airport. It didn't matter if they were taking me to the games, picking me up, taking me to, come do the podcast every Thursday. They've been on point. They've been awesome. It's been great working with them. And Windy City provides championship service. Yeah, I flowed into that. Yeah. I'm a pro. Okay. Making a reservation is so easy. It's a slam dunk. Let Windy City break the full core pressure of traffic and get you to your destination in style and on time. Contact Windy at 866-94-WINDY. Again, that's 866-94-WINDY, and tell them Stacy sent you. And just a buyer beware. I can't give
discount
you
code.
no discount code.
Hey, Mark,
there is no 21. There is no 21 code at Windy City. Okay, so just say Stacy sent you, and they're gonna say, cool, okay, and then you
and they'll just move in and give me a kiss.
No, don't move in and give a kiss. No man code violations, America. But you'll just get a nice, because they everything. I ride in the SUV.
Yeah.
The limousines are gone now. No one's using limousines anymore. You got to be like 60, 70 years old to get in a limousine. But limousines not the same.
Bulletproof.
No, not anymore.
Oh,
You
yeah.
still, no. Hey, listen, no. But
I called him, Mark, and I said, hey, it's Timmy. Do I get a discount?
What did they say? Oh, click.
Just
yeah,
click. I got
yeah.
nothing.
Well, I don't know why Tim is surprised. His wife clicks on him when she calls, honey, you want to go lunch? Click. So don't act like that's a surprise.
Yeah, it's a common thing in my life.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk to him.
Call
I try to call him all the time. As a friend, I try to call him. He doesn't answer.
me Clicky Whispers.
Oh, my God.
Over.
I'm done, man. This guy here. Tell her Ray. Tell
Jeez. We're out. That's the end of the show.
The new Telleray bottle openers.
So, America,
Yeah.
America, this is
Open
a
up
gift.
your hot sauce.
This is a gift we got. Okay, so last week, America, I forgot to tell y'all this. See this little bottle opener right here? This is a really nice bottle opener. It's really a weapon. You probably can hit somebody in the head with this damn thing.
They're kind of serious.
Yeah, it is kind of heavy. So last week, America, I go to him. He says, hey, he has these little speakers, these little miniature speakers. I got little Bose speakers, So he gives me little speakers, right? And he said, hey, man, these speakers are really good. And, charge it up, whatever. I said, all right, cool. So he goes, when you turn it on, it'll be Japanese. Chinese. So I said, well, why is it Chinese? Why isn't that American? Oh, no, it's just turn it on. You'll like the voice.
It was a bulk order.
Yeah, bulk order. Yeah, buy one, get 18 free. It was one of those orders.
Yeah.
So I said, will it work? If I plug it in, will it work? He said, oh, it works. These are really good. So me and Don's at home. I plug it in. As soon as I get home, I'm all excited. It's about that big, America. It's little. So I'm all excited. He's like, it's got a booming sound. It's awesome. So we let it charge all night.
Powell, does yours work?
Yeah, no. Yeah, mine does. Okay, so I get it, Mark. I'm sitting at the table. I'm ready to play my music. I'm ready to play Lil Durk. I'm ready to play it. All of a sudden, no button. I hit the button. Nothing comes on. Nothing. No blue light. No Chinese person saying, turn left, turn right. Nothing. No illustration. Nothing. So I asked Don. I said, Don, here, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Don takes it. I don't think it works. I'm like, well, we charged it for 24 hours. Like, why wouldn't it work?
I don't think you charge it right.
No. Then I realized he gave me a defective one. That's what I realized. Oh. See, he always gives. He gave Pavel a good one, but he gonna give me a defective one. He knew it was defective because mine wasn't in a box. He was just sitting down on the table. He said, hey, take this one. Yeah. And I'm like, well, why can't I get one in a box? So he had like 100 of them in the box because I could tell those were all new. He gonna give me a used one. He knew it didn't work.
It's a floor model.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, did yours work?
Mark didn't get one. No. Exactly.
Oh, okay. You take it.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Mark, you can have the one he gave me, and then let me know if it works. Cheap sucker.
It'll work fine.
Man, you cheap sucker. Boy, I'll tell you, boy.
We'll send one out to Nick Friedell for appearing on the show.
Yes.
The one that doesn't work.
The one that doesn't work.
Yeah, put a Brooklyn sticker on it.
We've had more fun than is legal for one afternoon, so thank you so much for joining us. Episode 76 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. Our thanks to Nick Friedell. The sky is falling. All is gloom.
We'll never make it.
We're
doomed. Why are we here?
Well, it's only winter and summer now in Chicago. What is it, 42 degrees today? I'm done.
Yeah, hey.
I'm moving.
Better days ahead, Chicago.
Better days.
Take us home, Pavel.
Yeah, Pavel. Drive home safely, Chicago. Beep, beep.
It's snowing.
Hey, and we're going to be here all summer.
That's right.
We're here all summer long. We're not a seasonal podcast. So if you get bored, which I know you will, we're going to be here all summer long.
That's right.